So in a previous video, we demonstrated how we can use aggregate functions like count, sum, min, max, average, so on and so forth. So let's say we wanted to do that, but we wanted to do in our previous video, we did it for just one thing at a time. Let's say we wanted to do a group. For example, we counted the number of countries in South America. What if we wanted to count the number of countries on every continent? So for that, here's what we would do. Let's start by pulling up our data, and we'll do this in several passes. So I'm going to select, and from my area diagram, I can see I want the name of the country and I want the continent. So I'm going to select name and continent from the country table. And so we'll execute, and this gives us all of our continents, or all of our countries and continents. Now let's say I wanted to count the number of countries in each continent. So for that, what I would do is I would select a count of the name. Now, when you do that, this is actually going to generate an error for me, in an aggregate query without group by, blah, blah, blah. Basically what it's saying is if we're going to do an aggregate function, everything in our select statement has to either be part of an aggregate, or which this one is, or part of a group, which this one is not. So I'm going to group by continent. And what this will do is it will group everything by continent, and then for each group, it will count the number of countries in each one. And so that's going to show me my list there. So let me clean this up a little bit. I want to change this to be a capital C. I'm going to say this is as number of countries. And now when I execute it, it'll fix my little column headings there. And let's say I want to sort this by my number of countries. I'm going to do an order by, and then num of countries. And I can use this here just because of, let's do that in descending order, just because I've named a column up here. And so the way SQL evaluates things, this happens first, which is why I can use number of countries here. I couldn't use it here in something else in my select statement, though, because it doesn't exist at that point. So Africa has the most countries, then Asia, then Europe, then North America, then Oceania, then South America, then Antarctica. Okay, that gives us an example of how we can do an aggregate function by group, and this works for all of our aggregate functions: count, sum, min, max, average, whatever. Now there is one other thing we want to see here, and that is, so we've got the group by clause. We also have another clause called the having clause. Let me show you how we use that. So I'm going to create a new query, and for this one I want to look at what's the most popular official languages in the world. So in the country language, I've got language and is official. So again, we're going to build this in a series of passes. So I'm going to select language, and I want to look only at official languages, right? So I'm going to select language from country language. I couldn't remember the name of it for a minute. From country language, where is official equals true. Okay, now this is going to give me a list of languages. Oops, I know an is official in where clause. IAL, there we go. Spell that correctly. Okay, and this is going to give me a list of languages. Now, I want something that I can count. I want to count the number of countries where we have that as an official language. So I'm going to count my country code here. So I'm just going to add count of country code as num of countries. And let's go ahead and capitalize language and make that look better. And, oh, I forgot to group by. So I want to group by language. Remember, once I added this aggregate function, then this needed to be part of either another aggregate function or a group by clause. So I execute this, and this is going to show me all of my languages in the world that are official languages and how many countries those are official languages for. So I want to sort this by number of countries. So just like we did before, we're going to do an order by num of countries, and I want to put that in descending order. And there we go. Now I want to filter out some of these because we've got a bunch of these where we just have one or two. So let's say I only want the most popular. Let's say I want anything that has more than 5. Okay, that's where having comes in. So the where we use in conjunction with from and to select specific blocks of data, right? So where is official equals true. So for having, I use the having clause in conjunction with a group by. So in a group by language, having a num of countries that's greater than or equal to 5. So what that's going to do, this filters the where, works with the from, and filters out data before it gets involved in an aggregate function. The having works with group by when we're doing aggregate functions, and it filters out after the aggregate functions have been applied. So if I execute this, we're going to see that we have 6 languages that have or that are official in 5 or more countries. Okay, there we go. We now have used a group by. So using group by, we're doing aggregate functions on groups of data rather than on the whole block of data. And then we have filtered out our results using the having clause.